Before you say, I know about the lighting, I've got to do this at midnight, simply because my university now have decided to put all their lectures exactly when I do my match day review. So I apologise in future reference. Until that's over, you're going to see a bright background behind me. But enough of my problems, let's go on with the video. What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. If I'm a little bit quieter, I do apologise. I do have to do these videos from now on at a bit of a later time, but hopefully you can still hear my enthusiasm as I talk about 9 exciting matches that took place. We saw a lot of things unfold. If you've got a correct score prediction, your comment will be on the screen right now, and as promised, I have included the FA Cup correct scores, and a couple of you did get a couple of correct scores this weekend. I think up to 4 of you did. I did all right actually. I got 1 correct score, which was the Cardiff and Norwich game, and this is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looks like now. Joshua Food, you are still the leader. Very, very close in the top half of the table as well. It's going to be interesting. We've got some midweek games as well from the Championship and the Premier League to predict as well. A lot can change in this week. But if you guys like what you see, please make sure to give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. It would really, really make my day. We're taking along a little bit in subscribers, 372 now. Let's really push for 400 as soon as we can. All of that would really make my day. And to do that, please share my channel to as many people as you like. All of that would really make my day. It's how I get noticed around here. But without any further ado, let's go on and talk about these weekend's games. So it starts with the early game on Saturday, Middlesbrough and Birmingham. And Birmingham pick up an away win. Birmingham, who were winless in 6 games, pick up an away victory, and it was a much improved performance by this Birmingham side. They were actually playing with some creativity, and their goal as well. I mean, I tell you what, it was a really, really good goal. It started with Scott Hogan. I mean, I remember that I was having severe doubts with Scott Hogan. Then all of a sudden, he proves me wrong and he shows he can score goals, actually. He started to build up to that goal. Ivan Sanchez does very well on the right-hand side, does a very clever pass to Maxime Collan, who loops the ball in, and then Scott Hogan with a simple tap-in made it 1-0 to Birmingham. But how Middlesbrough did not equalise from one of the chances is beyond me. It came from a corner, and then a header was won, crashing off the post onto the line, centimetres away from an equaliser for Middlesbrough. It just did not go their way. Middlesbrough just seemed to be stuttering a little bit. They're 7th place right now, just outside of the top 6. Birmingham, with this win, they now climb up to 18th place. A much improved performance by this Birmingham side. And this sort of result means you just cannot predict the Championship. Who would have predicted Birmingham to win? I tell you what, not many people did. And then another scoreline that ended 0-1 with Bournemouth and Luton. And I tell you what, Bournemouth were really unlucky with this game. The game was completely taken away from them when Jefferson Lerma got a straight red card for a very questionable challenge on Tom Lockyer. It looks like they both had an aerial battle trying to win the ball. Lerma had a flailing arm that hit Lockyer's face, which, yeah, not nice, but it was completely accidental. And these sort of challenges I don't even really see necessarily get a yellow. I mean, I was expecting a yellow, but a straight red card for that? Very, very harsh on Bournemouth's part there. And because of this, Luton really took in charge. I mean, I say Luton were actually slightly the better side before they went down to 10 men. But with Bournemouth, with this curse of losing that extra man in the field, Luton just got way more control. Nathan Jones originally set up a 5 in the back, but I think in the second half he changed it to 4 and really took the advantage of Bournemouth having a couple of gaps in their team. And they managed to take the lead by Dewsbury Hall. And Begovic had to make some stunning saves. He made a double save. Cornick, who actually used to play for Bournemouth, was the one who provided a goal. He looped the ball to Dewsbury Hall, got a firm strike, and that made it 1-0 to Luton. Bournemouth right now, I dare say, are not performing too well. They weren't completely great against Millwall, and they are winless now in 3 games. As with Luton, this is their 3rd win in 5 games. Luton just about steadily gained some pretty good form on their hands, and following this, they're now in the top half of the table. So a fantastic performance and weekend by Nathan Jones and Luton Town. Blackburn and Stoke ended 1-1. Stoke would be kicking themselves that they didn't get a good result in, because Stoke, for me, by far were the better side, especially in that first half. They got the lead from a Jordan Thompson corner, and Nick Powell with a header managed to get it past Kaminski. That made it 1-0 to Stoke. And they had more chances. Jordan Thompson nearly turned to goal scorer when he hit the post, and that could have wrapped the game up. But then all of a sudden, from literally out of nothing, Blackburn start gaining some momentum, and John Buckley, taking a couple of people on, scores a very, very nice goal, actually, making it 1-1. And then all of a sudden, Adam Armstrong finds himself through 1-on-1. James Chester fouls him. He gets a straight red card. and all of a sudden it's now Blackburn chasing for the winner. It was a fantastic game actually, although the scoreline may not suggest that. I'm a little bit concerned with Blackburn's performances right now. They didn't really react until the final 25 minutes of the game. They need to have some intensity from beginning to end really, and for the fact that Blackburn are not having that right now is a little bit concerning. Stoke right now will be feeling a little bit bereaved that they didn't get a win. For me, I think they were definitely the better side and definitely deserved it, and James Chester's ban is not going to do them well as well. But they did hand debuts to their new signings of Matondo and Norrington Davies, where both actually looked pretty encouraging actually. So pretty good signs going out with Stoke City right now. And then Bristol City's first victory for Preston in 15 years has come to this day. And funnily enough, the day they beat Preston was actually 15 years ago when they had their last home win against Preston. I mean, how spooky is that? But they managed to get their win, and it was a very well-deserved win as well. Bristol City were right on it, and the first 20 minutes was a fantastic performance by this Bristol City side. They got the lead, Famara Jeju managing to score a header from a corner that made it 1-0, and then Bristol City just continued to have that sort of dominance about them, and Preston just really struggled to get into the game. Alex Neil introduced Iverson, their new goalkeeper, following the fact that Declan Rudd is injured. He also gave a start to Ben Whiteman. To be fair, he was a big positive for Preston. And actually in the second half, Preston did improve. Huntington managed to get a header crashing against the crossbar, and I thought, okay, Preston are getting a little bit closer now. Then Preston start dominating the possession. I'm like, okay, Preston's fantastic away record is now starting to get into play. But then against the run of play, Zach Viner scores his first goal for Bristol City. Pretty scrappy goal, and the defending there was absolutely atrocious. Preston would not be pleased with themselves to watch his goal back. Alex Neil tried to get some intensity into the attacking sense by throwing Malumbi and Ched Evans, two attacking signings that Preston made recently as well. But unfortunately, they did next to no difference at all. They just weren't good enough. They only had one shot on target in the entire game, and against a Bristol City side that do concede quite a fair few goals, that's completely unacceptable really. Bentley could have literally had a holiday and Bristol City would have still had a clean sheet in that game. Bristol City, although they were fantastic, and what they need to do now, they need to keep that run going. They did have a pretty poor spell in the start of the second half, but they still managed to create a goal out of nothing, and that's a fantastic characteristic for your team to have when you're not playing well, but you can still make a difference. And then Norwich just continued to increase their lead in the top of the championship with a 2-1 away victory. Norwich in that first half were absolutely cruisy. Grant Hanley with the first goal of the game, managing to get a header that went into net, his first goal in nearly 2.5 years actually. That made it 1-0 to Norwich. And Todd Caldwell, who scored a stunner against Cardiff last time they played against each other, didn't really score a stunner this time, but the lead up to that goal was absolutely sensational. It started from Kenny McLean from a defence splitting pass. I think it was Ryan Bennett who failed to clear it, where he'll be a bit disappointed with himself. That managed to allow Jordan Hugo to have a chance to have a shot. It was well saved by Smithies, but then Caldwell almost a bit accidentally managed to get the rebound into the net, and that made it 2-0. Whether he meant that shot, we won't know. They were really comfortable. They really could have scored a couple of more goals. Although Cardiff really started to creep into this game slowly into the second half. Joe Rules managed to get a goal, nicely worked goal as well. That made it 2-1. But then the game was taken away from Cardiff, where their captain, Marlon Pack, who was sitting in to Sean Morrison following his injury, he got a second yellow card for a really ridiculous challenge on Oliver Skipp. It was absolutely erratic on what he did, really. And this defeat, unfortunately, puts more pressure on Neil Harris with 4 defeats now in a row for Cardiff. I just don't see where the goals are coming from. They've only scored 29 goals in 22 appearances. It's not good enough. They need more goals. And Neil Harris needs to find a way to make sure Cardiff are more free scoring, because they're sitting in the lower half of the table, which is definitely not a good sign for Cardiff being a parachute payment side. Norwich right now, fantastic position, top of the championship. If they just don't have a massive fallout, I think Norwich can definitely cruise to the Premier League. They definitely just got the ridiculous squad depth and just overall too much quality for the championship in my opinion. And then we saw a huge win for Rotherham. This was a really big game in terms of the bottom of the championship, and it was Wayne Rooney's first game in charge as permanent Derby manager, and it ended as a defeat against the run of play because Rotherham snatched all 3 points with a 1-0 away victory. Derby at times looked alright actually. Waghorn started and he had a couple of moments of quality. Unfortunately, Blackman was really good in that Rotherham goal, And Rotherham created some stuff in themselves as well. Crooks was fantastic. Wood did look like that he had a goal, but it was actually disallowed for offside, so it was unlucky for Wood, but he did manage to get a goal in that moment. And it looked like it was going to end as a pretty boring 0-0 draw, although what changed it was a little bit of brilliance for Rotherham in the final 10 minutes. Lindsay has a fantastic opportunity, which was actually well defended by Derby, but then a couple of minutes later, they have a free kick taken by Barlaser. He hits the post, and then Oswade manages to loop the ball in. Then Lindsay, who had that fantastic chance, managed to capitalise, managing to kick the ball through the net, through the Derby players, making it 1-0 to Rotherham. And this win puts Rotherham in 22nd place with 2 games in hand, overtaking Derby. So it's a huge victory for Rotherham, but a big blow for Derby. They need to definitely pick up some points as soon as they can. They'll be definitely eyeing up Sheffield Wednesday playing against Wycombe Wanderers in midweek, because both of these sides are definitely 2 sides that Derby will be having their eyes on, making sure that they are not overtaken and the fact that they're not being pulled away from. Rotherham the same as well. Rotherham definitely, for me, definitely have a good chance. Although they didn't ultimately deserve, in my opinion. It was a bit snatch and grab, so definitely performances could be better. But if they can get results, it doesn't matter how you play. It's a results-based game, football. And if you can get results, then fair play, Rotherham. You may survive by that way. And then this is a weird game. We've seen Nottingham Forest score 3 goals. Chris Hughton's side scoring 3 goals in a game? I mean, what is this sorcery? But it was a fantastic performance by Nottingham Forest, especially from Sammy Amiobi, who scored 2 fantastic goals. His second goal, though, from the right-hand side, running for length of the pitch, managing to loop it off. Alex Martin as well was fantastic. Of course, he scored in a reverse fixture of his game, and he was involved with a lot of the chances, actually. He was brought on as a sub. He was involved with Amiobi's second goal. Amiobi gave it to Martin. Clever play from him, doing a slight back pass, and then Amiobi with an unstoppable strike in the top left corner, making it 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. And then Ryan Yates completed the scoring. Millwall did get a bit of consolation. I say a little bit fortunate, as it appeared to me that Brice Samba was fouled from that corner, but it was actually a fantastic goal from Thompson that made it 3-1. Forest did well in possession, but then I think Millwall ended the half pretty strong. But then Nottingham Forest came back with all guns blazing in that second half. It was definitely a very, very neck and neck game, but I think with Nottingham Forest, they just took their chances and they made their chances count, and Millwall just ultimately just did not have enough of those moments. It's not a good run of form with Millwall right now. As I said already, they've only won 5 games in their opening 20 plus games. It's just not good enough for a side like Millwall, especially with the signings that they made. With Forest, they're steadily improving. They're 19th place right now, only a matter of points behind Millwall as well. So it's a fantastic turnaround with Forest and Chris Hughton. Give it a couple of games where we could see Nottingham Forest slowly but surely climbing up the table, and who knows where they could finish at the end of the season. We've seen some crazier things happen in the Championship. And then Watford get revenge on Huddersfield, matching the result that Huddersfield managed to get in the John Smith Stadium with a 2-0 victory. And it was a great performance by this Watford side. They could have scored so many goals. Ismail Assar was absolutely on fire in this game. Schofield made some 2 stunning saves in the first half to deny Sarr some goals. It was a little bit cagey though. There weren't many opportunities from either side. Huddersfield eventually had their first opportunity in like the 50th, 60th minute of the game. Unfortunately, they looked pretty toothless going up front. And Watford did get their breakthrough, and oh dear me, I mean, who do you blame here? Do you blame the new signing, or do you blame Schofield literally just planted on his feet and not reacting quick enough? Because Haveo tries to do a back pass, it's pretty soft, but then Schofield like almost daydreams, doesn't notice it, and then Tom Cleverley just sprints in, getting a touch, and it gets it through the net. I mean, Huddersfield fans, tell me, was anyone at fault? Was it both of their faults? I don't even know who to blame. Probably Schofield, unfortunately, but that made it 1-0, and then ultimately Watford just completely took control, and they eventually got their second goal from João Pedro. Fantastic build-up play. That one was definitely a more worked goal. It was very well worked in the right-hand side. It was looped in, Sarr managing to get another pass into the penalty box, with João Pedro completely unmarked, making it 2-0 to Watford. Huddersfield had a little bit of impetus in terms of possession, but apart from that, they didn't really try and test Watford at all. Buchman, the substitute goalkeeper for Watford, only had to make 1 save, which was a very tame shot anyway, and it was straight at him. So Very disappointing, likewise with Daniel Bentley. Buchman could have gone on holiday and still would have kept a clean sheet for that side, unfortunately. So yeah, not good from Huddersfield. They slipped down to 14th. Watford still staying around in the top 6 race. And following, they've still got that strong defence. They really limited Huddersfield to chances whatsoever. So good performance by Watford's part. If they could just continue this, then I think Watford can be a strong favourite to go up. And then on the late game on Saturday, which ended Barnsley 0, Swansea 2. I tell you this, I mean, Barnsley play some great football at times, but they are the victims of their own downfall at times as well. They were so good, Barnsley, in that first half. They really forced Woodman into a couple of saves, actually, and were definitely looking at a more impetus side and dangerous side going forward. But Swansea, what they do really well with is their balance, but also the way that they can change their style of play as well. They are a very free-flowing side, and Barnsley, with their high press, Swansea had to adapt and be more direct, and they did that in a flash, and immediately it put Barnsley in the back foot. It will be very disappointing for Barnsley's part that they managed to concede a goal before half-time, but the last moment of that first half happened with Connor Roberts with a really big throw-in, and then Ben Kabanga with a header that made it 1-0 to Swansea. And I felt from that goal, I think Barnsley just lost that little bit of control that they had and a little bit of their pride that they have to keep Swansea at bay. And then their second goal, it could have been really well avoided. Matt Grimes with a header, and it seemed that Anderson and Helik tried to get it together, but they didn't really notice Jamal Lowe literally pouncing on them, colliding with each other. Jamal Lowe rushing through on goal. Easiest goal he has scored all season. That made it 2-0 to Swansea. Fantastic performance once again for Jamal Lowe and Swansea. And Swansea right now have formed a 4-point gap from Bournemouth, which is absolutely amazing. And if they can continue this, Swansea can definitely go up. They've got the squad players for it. And as I said already, with the balance that they have, I think Swansea can be really strong favourites. As with Barnsley, yes, they've played a lot of the top 6, and it doesn't get easier for them for the fact they've got to play Watford in midweek. So I wouldn't say it's alarm bells for Barnsley, and definitely with their performances, they gave 100% out there. So Barnsley, nothing to be ashamed about that performance. So that wraps it up for the video. I'm so sorry once again if I sound a little bit quiet, but unfortunately that's going to have to be the new norm for now. Here is the championship table. So obviously we've got Norwich first, Swansea second, and then with the top 6 we've got Bournemouth, Brentford, Watford and Reading still up there in that top 6. Then we've got Middlesbrough, Stoke, Bristol City, Barnsley, Blackburn and Luton making up the top half of the table. We've got Preston, Huddersfield, Cardiff and Millwall in the middle part of the table. Then we've got Coventry, Birmingham, Nottingham Forest, Queensborough Rangers and Sheffield Wednesday in the danger part. And in the danger zone, the relegation zone, Rotherham, Derby and then Wickham. So that wraps it up for my reaction. Now time for the score predictions in midweek. As always, comment your predictions in the comments down below. If you get a correct score, your comment will be included in my next score predictions video. So without any further ado, guys, let's predict some more games. So we'll start off tonight's game, Arsenal and Newcastle for the Premier League. I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle. Now we go to the Championship. Match day 25. Derby Bournemouth, this ended 1-1 in the reverse fixture. I think it's also going to end 1-1 as well. I don't think both sides are actually playing particularly well. Reading and Coventry, the reverse fixture was Reading's first defeat of the season. 3-2 it finished. It was a fantastic game. I'm going to say Reading might get this one 2-1. Blackburn and Swansea's tie. I'm going to say 2-1 Swansea, but I might regret that. Rotherham and Stoke. I think this will be a draw. I thought 0-0, but I'm actually going to say a 1-1 draw. Watford and Barnsley. Barnsley beat Watford by 1-0 by a stunner by Alex Murr. So I'm going to say the opposite this time and say a 1-0 victory to Watford. I think they'll just edge this one. Norwich and Bristol City. This ended 3-1 to Norwich in the last time they played each other. Pookie with a double. I don't know if he'll be available for this game though, but I'm going to say Norwich gain a 2-1 victory. It's the result that they always get, Norwich. So I think they'll get another 2-1. Brentford and Luton. Luton would not want to have the result they had last time they were away to Brentford, which was 7-0 with a De Silva hat-trick. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory. Cardiff and Queensborough Rangers, I'm going to say 1-1, but I'm more confident with Queensborough Rangers to get anything right now. Charlie Austin's looked really, really good for Queensborough Rangers. Huddersfield and Millwall, I'm going to say 2-1. Huddersfield had a fantastic away victory against Millwall last time, back in the days when Huddersfield were able to win an away match. Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough, I think Nottingham Forest will get the victory this time, 2-1 Forest. Birmingham and Preston, I'm going to say Preston get their revenge with a 2-1 away victory, because Birmingham at home have not been great. And then to the Premier League games in midweek, West Ham, West Brom, I'm going to say 1-1. Leicester and Chelsea, I'm going to say Leicester will win this one. They've looked really good lately. I'm going to say 1-0 Leicester. Manchester City and Aston Villa, I'm going to say 2-0 Manchester City. Fulham and Manchester United, I'm going to say 2-1 Manchester United. Finally, Liverpool and Burnley, I'm going to say 1-0 Liverpool. So finally, that wraps it up for today's video. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel. Really make my day. And if you haven't done, please share my channel to as many people as you can. All that would really make my day. Probably not many videos this week because I am starting university again, but I will try and make as much content as I can. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary episode on the end of this video. And as always, take care, guys.